So let's get started. We're so happy that you've joined us for this presentation on the college search, particularly finding the right fit. My name is Michelle Legere, and I'm an outreach counselor for VSAC. And I will be fielding some questions, like I said, so feel free to put questions in the chat. We'll pause periodically. Just a reminder to keep yourselves muted. And just keep the conversation in the chat geared towards this presentation. And so we know that people are in different places around the college search. We see a lot of parents, a lot of students, and some professionals here as well. And some of you might know what you want, to study, but you have no idea how to find a right fit for where. Some of you have no idea. Some of you might know where you want to go. You have a clear idea, and some of you have no idea, and everything is okay. And we're hoping by the end of this presentation that you feel confident in what to look for, and you have some ideas of questions that you want to ask and what you want to look for, and that you have some resource sources and some search tools. And with that said, I'll hand it over to Sara.
Hi, I am Sara Vargo. I'm also an outreach counselor at VSAC, and I work on the Gear Up grant for that program. Some of you might have Gear Up programs at your schools, so I am an outreach counselor for that program. And today, yes, you are in the right place. This is the college search, finding the right fit. So we're going to start off with a resource. Michelle is also going to post this link into the chat. But on the VSAC website, VSAC.org, there are tons of resources that are accessible to use. And one of those is our college comparison chart. On this chart, you'll see a number of different factors to consider when looking at a post-secondary program of interest. You can see that there are factors like the type of school that you're looking for, the major or academic program that you might be interested or in, or think that you might be interested in, kind of the size of the school, where it is, what's on campus, and we're going to dive into a lot more of that today. We just wanted to make sure that you knew about this resource so that as you kind of continue on this journey, you have know that you have access to kind of a pre-populated document to use.
So Sara, we have a question already, and I just want to address it really quickly. So someone asked, how do we begin the search for a student with ADHD who's doing great so far, but do some institutions provide support? And yes, they do. There are some support services in colleges, and that it will be something that you want to particularly look for when you're searching for a college, and that'll be very important to you. And so that would be a must-have. And we'll hopefully give you some ideas of how to look for that.
Yeah. Those are often called student support services. So we'll get into that more as the program goes on. So the type of program is a really important place to start looking or to start thinking about, right? Are you interested in going to a certificate program around a specific form of licensure, like a welding program or commercial driver's license? Are you more interested in going to a 2-year school or a 4-year school? And kind of starting from that point, right? That helps you go from a really big place to start narrowing it down a little bit. Oftentimes those 2-year programs are technical degrees, so they're very specific types of school. So in that case, you or your student would really know the area of study that they wanted to focus on. it might be a veterinary tech degree, for example, or a specific type of computer science programming. 4-year degrees or bachelor degree programs, those are your institutions that can offer things more like a liberal arts education or 4-year engineering programs. They give you a little bit more opportunity to explore different fields if you don't know exactly what you want to study. Thinking about, do you want to be at a university? Oftentimes those larger schools, right? Like the University of Vermont. Or are you looking for maybe a smaller institution like Castleton? Also has university in its name, so it's maybe a little bit confusing. But really thinking about that size. Do you want a lot of people? Not so many people. Again, the specialized or general. So that's like the liberal arts degree versus a more specialized degree around a specific type of occupational interest. And then maybe, do you want to continue or try only online learning? Or is kind of having a campus something that's really important to you? So these are all sorts of different places where you can start to really narrow down your search.
And for this slide, I have a would you rather, I believe. So throughout this presentation, I have would you rather questions to help you think about and delve deeply into, what your preference might be. So your job is to just think about it. If you just had to choose one or the other, here's the first would you rather. Would you rather attend classes in person where you can make strong connections with your classmates and instructor, but you have to be there physically Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Or would you rather take mostly online courses where you have the flexibility for timing and you can do the work at your own pace, but you might not make the same connections with classmates and the instructors? So to recap, would you like to attend class in person where you can make strong connections, but you have to be there, or do online where you might not make strong connections as many, but you can do it at your own pace? So think about that, write it down, take notes, and then we'll go on to the next slide.
So the next thing to think about are those types of study that you're interested in. Some students have a specific idea about what they want to do after graduating from high school. So they have a specific career in mind. They really know they want to go into architecture or engineering or business or nursing, right? They've thought about this, and it's something that they're really connecting with. For other students, for example, like myself, I had a lot of interest, right? So kind of making sure you're taking note of where you are in that process. If you have a lot of interest, thinking about what subjects interest you, and making sure that those institutions that you're looking into offer those programs, right? Those areas of study. If you are interested in architecture, but you're also interested in business or marketing, you're going to want to make sure that those schools that you're looking at are able to offer both of those types of programs and not just one of them. Because if it's not offered there, it'll be hard to experience that learning area. Thinking about what do you hope to do after graduating from your post-secondary degree of institution. Do you hope to work in a hospital Or do you hope to travel a lot? Those are other ways that you can kind of start to explore areas of study. For some students, it's also thinking about things outside of their occupation that might lead them actually to their occupation. What do I mean by that exactly? Thinking about that work-life balance, right? What are some things that you want to be able to do in addition to your work, and kind of moving backwards from there? If you have no idea, that is totally fine. This is a great time to explore all of the things that are out there. And I kind of fit into this category when I was exploring post-secondary schooling options. I had a lot of interest and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So again, making sure that you're choosing a school that gives you the flexibility to try lots of different things would be important in that case.
Great.
I think it's time to whip out your, whip out your papers.
So here's another. I have one would you rather for this topic, majors and academic programs. Would you rather go to a school that encourages you to explore many classes and has many different options for many fields of study? Or would you rather go to a school that you dive right into the details of your field of interest? So explore many classes, many options, or dive right into a focused field of study. Write it down. Think about it. So this also for me was really important. I am a non-traditional student. I went to college in my late 20s and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted more. And I also wanted a small school because I was an adult and wanted the professors to know me. So I was paying it for it myself. So I went to a community college and took different classes and explored different things. And I, it was affordable for me. And then towards the end of my associates, I was able to choose a major and go on to another four-year institution. So that was me. Sarah.
So the type of school, Michelle kind of just gave us a look into those two different types of higher education degrees that we talked about, the associate's degree and the bachelor's degree, and some of those factors that influenced her decision. Things like the student body, the size of the campus, what classes really do you feel like you're ready to start? What class environment really fits you well? So do you do well in a class with a lot of students? Is that somewhere where you really thrive, or do you like those more intimate settings? If you haven't had experience with really large class sizes, which most high school students have not, thinking about other areas in your life where you are kind of in those settings. So like large presentations when you're at a school event and everyone is in the auditorium together and the presenter asks you a question. Do you feel compelled to raise your hand and participate in the discussion? Or is that something where you don't feel as comfortable participating? Kind of thinking about those things. The location of the school, right? Do you really like the rural kind of Vermont lifestyle? Do you like having 4 seasons? Or do you not like having 4 seasons? Are you really compelled to leave this area of the country and maybe explore a warmer climate? Do you know that you like kind of having the ability to travel home on the weekend, for instance, if you need to do laundry or really just need that good macaroni and cheese that you know your family makes? Or are you okay just kind of going maybe home once or twice a year. And also that kind of overall location. Are you really itching to get into a more urban environment or rural environment? You know, maybe like I live in a fairly rural area, and I could go to Burlington to find more people, or I could go to Boston to get even a larger area. So really thinking about those different types of environments. And if you don't know, you have time to explore them. So if you want to see kind of, well, I don't really know what an urban environment is like, maybe that means kind of seeing if you could explore Boston a little bit more, even online, or if you can get there in person, but trying to kind of explore those different options.
And are you ready for another would you rather? Okay. So I have 3 would you rather questions for this. So I'm going to go through these a little bit more quickly because I want to be respectful of time. So here's the first one. When it comes to exploring the college campus itself, would you rather live through 6 months of winter every year, but be able to see your family every weekend, or enjoy sun and warm weather most of the year, but you can only see your family during winter breaks? So 6 months of winter and you get to see your family whenever you want, or go down to Florida and you have to fly back during winter breaks, but you get to be in the warm sunshine all year. So that's the first one. I'll just give it 30 seconds to let you think. Okay, the next one. Would you rather see new faces every time you walk across campus, or recognize many of the people you pass on your way to class? So new faces, new school, new experience, or a school where many of your friends are. What would you rather do? Oh, somebody asked me to speak up. I'm sorry. Okay. Can you hear me now? Anyway, okay. Would you rather, here's the other one, attend a large school where there are many opportunities for research, but your introductory classes, you're in a 300, okay, sure, 300, you're in a 300 student lecture hall, and it might be harder for you to get to know your professors and your classmates, or attend a smaller school and have small classes where it's easier for you to get to know your professor. But there's fewer opportunities for research. So would you rather be in a 300-person lecture hall for your first year, or small, intimate classrooms? Think about it.
So the next point we're going to get to is about academic selectivity. So this is often a question that students and families have when applying to post-secondary institutions. This is a time when you can really reflect on how your student is doing academically, as well as utilize any standardized testing scores that they might have, like the SAT or ACT. For those of you who are sophomores and juniors in this meeting, think about how you have done academically so far and make a plan to either continue that academic success or improve on it, right? So oftentimes students are concerned that they haven't maybe done as well their freshman or sophomore year, but they've really started to take their academics more seriously their junior year. They've really kind of figured out the format of high school, which has really been changing these past couple years. And they kind of see clearer goals for their futures after high school. Often, or I shouldn't say often, most of the time, schools really love to see that progression, right? They like to see that you are able to recognize an area of improvement and move on that. So think about, again, where you are academically and what your goals are for the future. We talk a lot about a backup school or a safety school, a good fit, and then a reach school. So those safety schools, those are the schools that you really, really know that you're going to get in. You kind of exceed all of the criteria that they put out there. How do you find out what that criteria is? You use college search websites like College Navigator or Big Future. Maybe you could write those in the chat, Michelle. Those are great kind of, blanking on the word, search sites where you can kind of scroll through various different programs across the United States. College Navigator isn't as flashy, but it offers you a chance to explore all types of post-secondary degree programs in the United States. Those are your certificate programs, associate's degree programs, and bachelor's degree programs. Big Future is more geared to just 4-year schools, those bachelor degree programs, and a few 2-year institutions in there as well. You can also think about the cost of institutions when you're looking at academic selectivity as well. We're going to dive into that a little bit more, but that's another area to consider. Sometimes those schools that might be more selective also have more resources available to provide for financial aid. So although sometimes they may have a bigger price tag, that doesn't necessarily mean that's what you will be paying to go there. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Are there any questions so far? We're kind of halfway through. Is there anything that's not clear or that you'd like me to touch on a little bit more? No? Okay, not seeing anything in the chat. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is the campus atmosphere. What does it feel like? This is really important because it's going to be where you're taking those classes, right? Where you're gaining that additional knowledge. And you want to make sure that it's a comfortable place for you to be. So what sorts of environments do you like being in? Do you want to be kind of living and studying with all the students that kind of are around you? Or do you like kind of doing your own thing more and not really having that much interaction with a lot of people? Thinking about kind of academic expectations. These are things that you can ask about when you go on college tours with tour guides. You can kind of ask them, what a typical class expects as far as workload, how many times you meet throughout the week, how many hours of additional work outside of class there are. And if you're unable to go on a college tour, you can ask this question of admissions officers or scroll college websites to find the information out. You can also do just kind of Google searches or YouTube searches about it. That can be a good way to get real student information about that college campus. Thinking about, the demographics, again, of the student body. Do you really want to go to a co-ed university? Are you really interested in going to a university that is religiously affiliated? Kind of thinking about all of those different things. Do you want to make sure we had a question at the beginning of the presentation today around specific academic supports that you might be looking for? This is a time when you really would want to check and see if those institutions that you're looking into have that. For those of you who are part of Gear Up, that is considered a TRIO program, and many campuses offer TRIO program support within their college campus. So you might also want to look for that as well. So any of those kind of specialty areas.
Sorry, I muted myself by mistake. I have two would you rather questions for this one. This is about campus atmosphere. So, would you rather go to a college where the campus is integrated into a city, so there's less of a campus community? You might have to take public transportation to get from your dorm room to your first class or ride a bike. Or would you rather go to a school that has a very close-knit community with a strong campus connections, but it's rural and you would have to drive far to get to the nearest town of, where there's a nightlife, or so integrated into the city like NYU, or a small intimate campus like Vermont Tech, but it's rural and far from the closest city. So think about that, take a minute, and then I'll go to the next one. And the next one is, would you rather attend a school where most students live together in a dorm, and you have opportunities to make new friends? Or would you like to attend a school where most people live off campus, but you can save money on housing and meal plans, but you will have to work harder if you want to make connections in that school. So live together in the dorms, lots of easy to meet new people, or a commuter school where most people live off campus. And if you decide on a commuter school, there's ways that you can make connections through being part of a sports team, or joining a club, or inviting someone to go to a lecture at the college or go to the theater. So there are ways.
Yeah, that's a great point. To think about, right? Like if the school that you're really interested in doesn't have a specific option, are there other ways that you could make up for that, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect in every single way. It just has to be good. I'll tell you, there is no perfect fit out there, right? You just want to make sure that some of the most important things are highlighted. Things, again, like housing and meal plan options, the diversity of the student body, what opportunities and activities are available, how do students spend their time. We talked a little bit, or I referred a little bit to YouTube and TikTok, kind of looking into like a day in the life at UVM or a day in the life at NYU. And seeing student perspectives is another way of exploring the campus if you can't get there.
And that is something that a lot of people have had to pivot to during COVID, when everybody was in, had to be isolated. The students, they couldn't go and visit the campuses. But you can YouTube a day in the life and do TikTok and Facebook and find out through social media and try to get a pulse of what that campus is like.
Do you want to share those questions? We're running short on time here, Michelle. Do you want to share the would you rathers really quickly, and I'll move on to the next slide?
I think, are we on slide? Which slide are we on? Sorry, I think we did that one. Oh, student life and diversity.
Okay, so the next thing to really think about is outcomes, right? So in those institutions that you're looking into, using some of those college search websites that we pointed out to look into outcomes. So the retention rate is one that I'm always really interested in, because maybe a school has kind of checked all the boxes, but when we look at the retention rate, we see that it's actually quite low, like 30 or 40% of first year students are continuing on through their second year or maybe their third year, right? That would be something that would really make me stop and consider the option that I'm looking into. Thinking about the graduation rate in a 4 or a 5 year period of time, if it's for a bachelor's degree program, how many students are actually graduating within the 4-year mark or the 5-year mark, right? What are those percentages like? And another thing is we're kind of going to these post-secondary institutions with an aspiration of something that we want to do in the future, right? A specific, maybe it's a specific job, but it's definitely to join the workforce, right? So what are job placement rates like at these institutions that we're exploring? And these, again, are all statistics that schools are able to provide to you if you're looking into them.
Those search tools that I put in the chat earlier, Big Futures and College Navigator, those will have those statistics, and as well as what Sara said, the college websites themselves.
Cost and affordability, we touched a little bit on this, but the sticker price versus the actual cost. The only way for you and your family to know how much school will cost for you is to apply for financial aid. If you don't apply for financial aid, you're telling the institution that you're willing and ready to write a check for the sticker price of that institution. But completing the FAFSA and other like the Vermont state grant, as well as any other additional applications that these institutions require for financial aid, is extremely important to be able to determine the actual cost of school. Sometimes people write off post-secondary institutions as being something that is too expensive. You do not know how much a school will cost until you apply for both admission and financial aid. After you apply for financial aid at a school, you will then learn if you have qualified for any school scholarships or school grant programs. You won't know that, again, unless you apply. Also, you can complete something called your estimated family contribution after completing your FAFSA. And that will give you a little bit of a good indicator around how the average cost that you might end up paying. We also have a really great tool that Michelle posted in the chat, I believe, that allows you to work through what is called your award letter from the financial aid office, and really pick through it because they can be a little bit confusing. So I highly recommend that you save that link today so that you can use that tool. Again, this is kind of another area to think about: financial safety, match, and reach schools. In kind of that financial lens. And you see that there's
somebody just posted a wonderful point in the chat. that a lot of schools seem to have on-campus living requirements for freshman year, and some beyond freshman year, and they attended a college that did not guarantee on-campus living after freshman year, and they weren't aware. And the question is this something that schools are transparent about online so you can see? And that might not be.
But you can use that, Michelle, you can use that on college search tools. So you can filter schools through a kind of, is there a living requirement as well, kind of under the housing tab normally. Oops. Did we have a would you rather for the last one, Michelle? The financial slide?
Not the cost and affordability.
Okay.
But we do for the last one.
Okay. So in conclusion, really be open to all sorts of options that are out there. Research, explore. We know that sometimes preferences and goals may change over time. So where you are, right now as a junior might be different from where you are before when you get to your senior year, right? You might have had some experiences through the summer that changed your perspective. Just continuing to explore and be open to options. Not writing schools off because you find that they look like they'll be too expensive until you've applied for financial aid. And along with that, trying your best not to say you want to go to a specific school, right? And setting your heart on one, because there are so many awesome schools out there that offer awesome experiences, and you will have the chance to explore all of those once you get to campus and once you're enrolled. And that's really the time when you start to kind of take advantage of all that there is to offer. Know what are kind of your strengths and maybe what you need to improve on, right? Really think about applying to like 2 safety schools, 3 match schools, and 1 or 2 reach schools. Don't overdo it, right? Don't put too many choices out there on the table. Instead, really work on exploring what that best fit might be.
And I do have a couple would you rather questions for this one. So the first one is, would you rather spend your Saturday at your college football game, or would you rather hang out in a small, intimate setting with friends on the weekends? So small, intimate setting, or would you like to go to your college football game? If I would have been a traditional student who went right after high school, I would have wanted a college football game because we had football at my high school, but I was older and more chill. And so I wanted a small group of friends that I would, that I would be able to meet. And I met a couple of my very close friends. So the next question is, would you rather, and this is a big one, and we run into this every year with students, would you rather attend your dream school, no matter the cost, or attend your third choice school if the price is right? And so we run into that. Many students, they have a dream school from when they're a freshman in high school, and they're just so sure. And then when it all shakes down, I had a student last year who her dream school just didn't offer her a great package, but her third school, which is exactly what this says, offered her an amazing package. And the school that she didn't want to go to gave her a free ride, completely 100%. But she knew she didn't want to go there. So she chose the third school, and she loves it. So sometimes life chooses things for us. And that's why you want to just research all different kinds of options, like what Sarah said, your safety schools, reach schools, and just be open that you might change your mind, and that will surprise you. So, and I guess that's all the you got through all the would you rathers. Congratulations.
So we have a really great question in the chat from Becca. She wants to know if we can talk about the pressure and emphasis placed on Ivy League schools. Are they any better given the significantly higher competition and cost? So I'll stop for a second there. We don't know the cost until we apply, right? So taking that out, you don't know the cost of how much something will be until you apply for financial aid. But I think what you're pointing out is kind of the emphasis on a name versus the emphasis on a good fit. And that, I would say, is the most important thing. It's not so much about the institution that you go to, the name that it has associated with, versus what that institution is going to do for you and your life and career goals. It's not going to be a great fit if the name is right. That doesn't make a good fit. So I would really encourage people, again, to take your time to think about those types of environments that you feel comfortable in or want to explore more, or are really interested in learning more about, and going from that place instead of getting attached to a specific name. Are there any other questions? This is definitely an okay time to unmute yourselves if you want.
Yes, please. I have a question. When I was in high school, I attended a week-long program in the summer that was geared toward helping students in their college search and admissions process, and just getting to know the, different preferences for themselves and how to go about writing essays, that sort of thing. And I wondered if you know of anything like that. And one of the reasons I ask is I think it was great to be able to go away somewhere and experience living on a college campus for a week and kind of get an idea of that part of my interest as well.
Yeah, I think, yeah, what a cool opportunity. There are definitely some programs that offer that. There's a program called Upward Bound. That's a trio program that some students may qualify for, and they spend their summers doing exactly what you're talking about. But then I would also kind of just encourage you to use Google. I know that I live near one of those Ivy League institutions here in the Upper Valley, and they offer a summer program. I don't know what the cost is, but I would just encourage you to kind of search that. I'm not sure if UVM has something, but I think that's a great tool that can be really useful for students. There definitely usually is a financial component associated with them. On the VSAC website, you could create your own summer camp. There's tons of tools there that you can use to kind of explore also all of those points that you're saying. But that, I hear you, that kind of on-campus experience can be really just great exposure for students too.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions? Well, I'm so glad everyone came today. I hope that your takeaway is explore, explore, explore. Refer back to that sheet on the VSAC website, or this presentation, I believe, is being recorded and will be available online. The TRIO programs, there's just a question in the chat about TRIO programs. Those are for predominantly first generation college students. So neither parent has graduated with an associate's degree or higher, or have other income or income requirements attached to them, or specific student circumstances. And those are programs that offer those students additional supports as they are applying to and continuing their post-secondary journey. So if you are interested in any of those types of programs, the VSAC website also has some more information about those that our outreach programs are connected to. So you can check out, again, vsac.org. Explore, explore, explore. I guess that's what I hope most people come away with today.
And I just put the Big Future College search tool in the chat again, and hopefully you can pull that link up. VSAC has a Facebook page. You can like us on Facebook, and we're pretty easy to find. And I'm also going to add a link for VSAC's website. Here we go, in the chat, that has a lot of resources on searching for a college and tools to help you navigate. So
great.
And I'm going to actually put a link in the chat also that will help you link to your next session. You have a little break before the next session. So let me put that in now before we close.
Thank you all for coming today. I hope that you can continue to stay with us for this next session, and that you're able to attend one that really interests you.
Also talk to your school guidance counselor, and many schools have a VSAC outreach counselor there. So we're here as a resource for you.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for coming.